What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Bros. Just disappointing. The effort wasn't there. They get annihilated. I mean, it was basically a 50-point loss. The Celtics are knocking down threes at will. It looks like me at the local park when I'm putting up shots and going through a nice workout. Nothing but net. Nothing but net. Corner three, fade away. Nothing but net. They were drilling them at will. They finished with, 25 threes. They're breaking records. I mean, it's just disappointing. Now, big picture, I'm not going to act as if this changes a lot about my long-term feel about who the 76ers are, but it did seem like they overlooked their opponent. Now, knowing that James Harden wasn't playing for them, and they clearly had to put out 1,000% to win this basketball game, knowing that they were playing down such a crucial piece who they never even had an opportunity to work with yet, obviously. But my point is, there was a previous time this season that the Celtics were not good. They were an embarrassment, honestly, and they were extremely pathetic. And it was almost if the Sixers thought on their home floor they could just go through the motions and beat their opponent down without realizing and comprehending that this Celtics team has a new identity. They have been playing good basketball. They bring the intensity defensively. But really what irked me is the fact that I'm watching Joel Embiid get triple teamed, and you just don't have many other options out there. I'm watching the offense settle with Matisse Thybulle threes in the first quarter. I'm looking at the box score. How many threes is this guy taking? We're living and dying with 3 Matisse Thybulle threes. I'm sorry, that's not how you are going to win. I'm watching Niang take threes. I'm watching Furkan. There was one stretch where Shake, Furkan, Niang, these are the threes that you're living and dying with, and I hate to break it to you, that's not the same as witnessing Jaylen Brown crossover defenders, cross them up, and then knock it in your face. And by the way, this just shows you what a powerful offensive player can do, no matter who the defender is. At one point, it was Joel Embiid out by the perimeter. At another point, Matisse Thybulle's out there. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. Not that the Sixers had stellar D that blew me away today, but on certain possessions, you look and go, damn, that was a deep three. Or wow, that was a great move to create separation from the big man, right? And they knocked it down. Oh, that's because an elite offensive possession will beat a good defensive possession every single damn day of the week. And that's why I feel as strongly and as passionate as I do about acquiring a James Harden and then not worrying about a Matisse Thybulle or something along those lines to acquire that talent. Obviously, they didn't have to utilize him, but I'm just trying to support my logic on why I feel the way that I do. And this is why I have my concerns on what Matisse Thybulle can be, because he is an impact defender, but when he is not impacting the game defensively, what is he doing? And then, oh, by the way, he can't do a damn thing offensively at times, and it's problematic to what you can run. Teams, it's going to be differently. Teams are going to force the ball out of Joel Embiid's hands. I gotcha. And when James Harden is the alternative, it definitely changes the identity of what teams' defenses are. And that's why it's going to be fascinating for the long term here on what this team can run, because it absolutely changes the game. But I literally watched 3 defenders swarm on Joel Embiid within seconds of him getting possession. And it just stinks because he wasn't able to get into rhythm. He barely made any field goals from the floor. It all came down to the charity stripe. He took 16 free throws, knocked down 13. There was a little spurt where we thought there would be some hope, right? Basically, with about, 3 or 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter, right before halftime, you had the huge Joel Embiid dunk. You had a big block at the basket. He went back to the charity stripe, so there were some charity stripes in there, some free throws, the big dunk. The Sixers went on a 10-0 run, but then there was a turnover by Maxey, and then here come the Celtics. They continue their surge, whether it was Tatum, whether it was Brown. Who else was knocking down shots for them at will? Williams out there knocking down shots at will. Guys off the bench are drilling threes in your face. And it basically became a snooze fest where you weren't even obligated to watch it anymore. And that sucks because there was a time earlier today where I couldn't wait until tip-off. I was in the shower. I took a shower around 6 o'clock after dinner. I'm like, let me hop in the shower and I'll throw on some tunes. So I'm listening to Russ. I put on one of his albums. I let it ride. I'm going crazy with my Beats pill. And I'm thinking about about, yo, that Wells Fargo is going to be electric. It's going to be dynamic down there, and the place is going to blow the roof off. But instead, I'm hearing boos, boos, as we should, because they were playing such a pathetic brand of basketball. And I'll chalk it up to one of those nights for sure. But it does bother me that it seemed like they underestimated their opponent, the Boston Celtics. And you should despise that logo and that team and everybody involved so much that it really shouldn't come down to not showing up. They just didn't show up, right? They got out-coached, they got outworked, they got out-competed, they got out-executed, you name it. There wasn't one level of positivity that shines throughout this game. It was just a miserable outing. Now, sometimes that happens. No doubt about it. You chalk it up to one of those nights, and if they respond on Thursday and they have a huge win in Milwaukee, then we feel differently. And then we think about the second half stretch with the addition of James Harden, and that changes everything that this team can run and who they are as a whole. It's a shame because there's James Harden. He comes in the building. He's the bell ringer, and the place is going bonkers. And it absolutely was a dud. You could tell the offense had zero rhythm offensively in the beginning stages, just couldn't find themselves down 10, trying to pursue. And you're down a lot by halftime as the Celtics went on a push after that 10-0 run that I already alluded to, and it was all she wrote from there. And yeah, I mean, I saw possessions that I tweeted out where Niang looks to pass it to Tobias. Tobias goes up with it. He basically loses it. The ball goes to someone laying on the floor who kicks it out to Furkan, who's wide open for three. He clanks it off the front of the iron. It looked like AAU basketball, not even AAU basketball, excuse me. I'm talking more along the lines of 16-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds playing at the local, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what it's called, YMCA, if you will. I don't know the proper words for it, but I do know that after I just gave you my spiel and my thoughts on where we are opening up the Anytime Hotline, 856-442-9805. If you would like to call into the show so we can communicate on your thoughts and what we witnessed. There's some voicemails, there's text messages, there's the chat room. So as always in this nice little stretch that we're having here, we're live, we're doing this live. So if you want to call in and speak with me, the phone line is open. Let's go to the phones right now. I want to say good night, like as if it's morning. Good morning, you're on with Broads, or good afternoon. I say good night. It's almost like I'm tucking you in for bed, but that's just kind of where I'm going here. So good night, you're on with Broads.
Hey, good evening. So what do you think about Matisse Thybulle tonight? Because his rhythm was completely off. Obviously, he was one of the best defenders in the league, especially when he plays against Brown and Tatum. You could tell he has that chip on his shoulder, but there was absolutely nothing on his offense. I mean, there was like his three ball was clanking, completely missing. There was no offensive putbacks beyond that. There's no cutting to the cup. There's no mid range. I mean, how annoying is it for you to watch Matisse just be a nothing on offense?
Yeah, I can't stand it, and I've been pretty vocal about it, and there's a lot of people that feel I'm too harsh on him, and I don't give him enough credit because he's so good defensively. I should give him a pass, but I don't know why I should give him a pass. We've known now for years, for literally years, that we knew he had to get stronger at shooting the basketball from three, and every single season it has gotten worse. So, when you have one target in your offseason to really expand, and then your growth becomes so important to this team, yet you are going in the wrong direction every single season, that's problematic to me. And when you think about the half-court sets, I also stress this a lot, which is regular season is regular season. Ben Simmons is a phenomenal regular season player, but it doesn't always relate to the postseason. Now, that doesn't mean that Matisse isn't going to have a game, because I'll put my mortgage down on it, that in a playoff series, he'll have a game where all the supporters go, see, this is why you want him. And then there'll be plenty of games where then me and you sit here and go, well, he sucks offensively and he's miserable. So it's clear that he needs to work way more on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I that's much agreed. George Niang came in, and I mean, I would expect a little more coming from him. But then again, it's George Niang,
Exactly.
Matisse.
George Niang is your typical, and I don't think it's a bad thing to say this, but he is your NBA role player. He'll have his good nights where he's fired up and he's getting the crowd involved, and then he'll have his clunkers. There's a reason why he's a role player and not a starter. Starters are consistent. Role players have their off nights, if you will, and it just seemed this team, they had open looks. It wasn't as if these looks weren't open, but Niang would clank it, Danny Green or Seth Curry or whatever that spurt was at the time, or Thybulle's missing threes. Everyone just missed these looks when they sent a bunch of players towards Embiid, but that was sort of the Boston Celtics identity tonight. Thank you so much for calling in. It's get the ball out of Joel Embiid's hands and have somebody else beat us. And when you dare these players on the team, these role guys, to do so, it's clearly problematic. The only thing that changes, though, down the road is Joel Embiid going to have a secondary player here that happens to go by the name of James Harden, and then that person makes it more difficult for some of these teams to make the decisions defensively that you saw them make today, because now the alternative is, oh, that's right, James Harden. Now, I do have a problem, though, and it's not going to be a long-term issue now that we already know that they acquired another insanely important offensive scorer. But when you go all bench in Tobias Harris and Toby's not being aggressive and not taking any shots, and he's relying on these players that I've already alluded to a bunch of times, not that I love Tobias plus bench. I don't. Maxey should be on the court when Embiid is off the floor. It should be that simple. I don't know why Tobias plus bench is your method and your madness to the method. I just don't see how that is your best option. I don't know how that goes through your head on this is what I'm going to do. At least put Maxey out there and let him try. Now, it's better than all bench. Toby plus bench is better than all bench, no doubt, but it's still not your best option, even with the flaws right now and James Harden not available. You could do better, but even if you do that, I'm pretty damn disappointed that Tobias played the role that he did within that sequence. I'm watching some ugly play, though, some ugly offensive possessions where he's backing down defenders in the post, and then they kick it around, and they get an awful shot, or Matisse Thybulle's wide open underneath the basket. He tries to kick it out. It's a bad pass. I think that's actually when the fans lost their marbles a bit and definitely went off and started to boo as much as they possibly did. Let's go to a anytime hotline voicemail here and hear from you.
Hey, bro, long-time listener, first-time caller, fan of Boston, but love your fucking podcast, man. I'm wondering what you think are any positive takeaways for the Sixers, because tonight they played pretty awfully. They didn't get any shots going. The ball movement was decent. I mean, even the crowd kind of shut up towards the end, other than Paul Millsap coming in. Yeah, just a tough thing. But looking forward to Harden coming for you guys, and hopefully it'll be a good playoff. All right, go Celtics.
Oh, you can't go Celtics on me now. That's disappointing to hear. You can't go Celtics on me. I appreciate the phone call. I can't wait for Harden too. But is there really any positives here? I can't think of one. There was nothing that made me feel, hey, at least you can find something. Normally, even if 95% of it is awful and terrible and it was straight up trash, I'll at least acknowledge the 5. Or even if it's 97, 98, 99% horrendous, I'll try and find 1, 2% just to point out, just to discuss a little tiny bit and say, hey, at least blank. I can't give you a damn thing today. Nothing at all. Maxey, not really. Danny, nope. Shake Milton, absolutely not. He was 2 of 10 from the field, and I'm just not anticipating much out of him to this point, and there's no reason why I should. The experience of Shake Milton, it is what it is. To use a Ben Simmons term, and I hate to say this, but I have another Ben Simmons point from what we heard previously, and for all the people out there that say, why even waste your time speaking about him? He's no longer here. It really shouldn't be that hard to process, and there's no reason why I even need to explain it, but Ben Simmons held this entire organization hostage for 6 months, 7 months, however long it was. It felt like 9 years, and the fact that he speaks for the first time, I'm supposed to not acknowledge it, and I'm supposed to not listen in and hear what he has to say? Do I really have to explain to you why? Do I really? Because come on now, let's use our brain. It's pretty simple why. I have to hear his tone. We haven't heard from him forever, and he's making up things that don't even make sense, and nobody can rationalize. That's why. And by the way, he brought up the fact, ironically, they played the Boston Celtics tonight, talking about a previous series in the postseason under Brett Brown, playing away he likes to play. Did you forget, Ben, that the Celtics series that year, you had to basically, you kept your head above water here, but TJ McConnell was so much better than you that you could barely even play in that series. Why don't you acknowledge that? You were such a problem. You were so horrible. You were trash to the point where fans were screaming, we got to play TJ because he's at least a threat. TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell. And fast forward a couple years, and here we are having the same conversation. But leave that out of your answer, please. Don't tell the New York media that. Don't ever bring up that issue. Come on, Ben. And even the ESPN media now that's taking shots at Sixers fans because it's our fault he's in this position. Yet the ESPYs is in Philadelphia 76ers fans, and they were having a ball about Ben Simmons. Kimes, she's having a blast ripping Ben Simmons forever and ever and ever. Now all of a sudden it's fans' fault. Please, with this national media trash. Trash, trash, trash. That's the name of the episode today. Trash. Because this basketball game is that, Ben Simmons is that, and then the national media trying to spin it that we are the issue when they had their fingerprints all over this mess as well. Shame on you, everybody involved. Shame on you. Let's go back to the Anytime Hotline. Here we go.
Yo, Broads. I swear to God, whenever the Celtics play the Sixers, they don't miss shots. There's something about this team. They do not miss shots against the Sixers ever, and I cannot stand them. This was pretty embarrassing. I really don't care that we don't have Seth or Andre. Can't lose by 50 damn points. James Harden needs to get healthy fast because this was an ugly one for the Sixers.
It was definitely ugly. You could feel the morale out of the building basically be gone, and it was deflated. And realistically, it was an unwatchable game. And at one point, I joked around saying, hell, the Flyers tonight is at least more entertaining than this, right? The Flyers! Yet they end up blowing a 2-goal lead in the third period and losing in overtime to the Pittsburgh Penguins when Sidney Crosby scores his 500th goal of his career and his 50th against the Flyers. I mean, come on. You just can't get anything right tonight in Philly sports, that's for damn sure. But yeah, I mean, it definitely got to a point where you're scrolling on TikTok. By the way, you can follow me on TikTok at Broads Media. Please go hit that. We're close to 1,000 followers. Thank you very much. Shameless plug. I'm scrolling on TikTok. I'm looking at social media, and all I'm hearing is another 3 for Boston. 3 for Boston. William for 3. Nonstop, over and over again. They're just cashing in. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely disappointing to see how many shots they were making. It was a product of poor defense, a product of not playing sound on that end, and just shot-making ability. And I thought at some point, okay, the Celtics will calm down. They'll cool down. There's no way in hell that level of completion will continue throughout the entire night. But I guess shame on me because they definitely did really, 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 and I mean really, keep their foot on the gas. I'm looking at some quotes here just from some players here. Niang, I don't want to dwell on the shitty things, so this is an easy one to flush. Okay. Niang asked what the feeling was during the game. Oh, shit. Okay. I mean, we've been around a while. We've seen a lot of games played. We've watched a lot of sports. This is definitely a throw the tape away, but it feels different if it's, I don't know, a game against I'm not even going to say the Orlando Magic, but what's an average squad that is maybe on the road, or even if it is a home game? Let's say it's a home game. No reason to make it too extreme, but let's say it's against the Hornets, a team that's 29-29. You lose to them at home and you lose by 48. LaMelo Ball goes off. They make some buckets. They can't miss all night. Then you just kind of scrap it. You put it through what the hell is that thing called that my grandma has in her little room? I don't think you guys would know because you have no idea who my grandmother is and what she has in her little room. But it's the thing that you put the paper through and it shreds it. A shredder. Classic. A shredder. You put it through the shredder and then you don't think about it again. But it feels worse, and there's way more pain involved when we are witnessing it happen against that logo. Oh, the leprechaun, the logo, the green jerseys. It makes me sick. And by the way, this had zero to do with the outcome of the game. The Sixers got their asses kicked and they got annihilated. It's just that simple. But referee number 50 has to go to jail. I swear to God, he deserves the death penalty, the death sentence for some of the calls that he made. Now, this game was not lost. This game was not lost. This game was not lost because of any sort of referees or calls made, okay? But both can be true, where the Sixers sucked and they blew and they couldn't generate any sort of success on either side of the court. And the referees, there was the one play where Matisse Thybulle is defending, clear arm extension. Doc actually challenges the call, which I give him credit for. He barely does that. And somehow they still keep it on the floor the way that it was. The one where, unfortunately, Marcus Smart gets injured, and I hope he's okay. That definitely looked bad, and then he wasn't able to make his free throws, and he got picked up by his teammates. I definitely hope that he gets back on the floor as fast as humanly possible. When you think about that, though, Joel Embiid kept his hands down. He literally kept his hands down. His shoulders were down. Everything was down. It was just Marcus Smart tweaking his ankle. It was Marcus Smart in his foot. That's what happened. And they blew the whistle. This guy deserves a death penalty. How do you call that? How do you call that? I can't believe it. I'm sitting there like, yo, 5-0. What are we doing here? Oh, man. I almost spit my Pepsi all over the place. That's right. I enjoyed a nice Pepsi tonight. I went popcorn. This is how ugly it went. At one point in the third quarter, I'm like, I'm going upstairs. I'll go say hello to the fiance. She was watching TV on the couch with the dogs. The dogs didn't come in the basement, hang out with me tonight, unfortunately. But I went into our little drawer. I got a bag of popcorn. I'm getting the extra butter. And then I shake the popcorn. I'm like, did I get enough butter? And I'm like, hey, relax. I throw a little bit more on there. Come back, have a little bit of Pepsi. I still got a little bit right now. I'm a little mug here. Got the Pepsi, and I'm just kicking back. Just eating it. One of my buddies FaceTime me. Shout out Tig. He's a Celtics fan. We were just shooting the shit a little bit. That's where this game brought me. And it's disappointing because I had so much juice for this. I almost bought tickets. And I'm very glad that I didn't waste my money on this game. I would love to see James Harden play, though. Might be saving up for that. All right. We'll take another phone call here. Here we go.
Yo, well, I think we still in the fourth quarter of this game. I kind of turned it off because I didn't really feel like watching that shit. I'm not really mad. We got the brakes beat off of us, yes, and Doc Rivers fucking sucks. But at the same time, like, there's no James Harden, and we're without Seth Curry and Andre Drummond. Like, and to be honest, watching this game from tip-off, they won the game. Like, they just had more energy. They hustled to every loose ball. They were making every shot. They hit like 10 threes in the first fucking half. So, I mean, everything just went their way. And at the end of the day, like, it's a bad loss, of course, because you never want to lose to the Celtics by 50 on your home floor. But at the same time, like, who gives a damn? It's a freaking Tuesday in February. Like, who cares?
Yeah, I feel you. I think the bigger approach is the same as mine, which is I'm not going to lose my cool and then start claiming that this team isn't as good as what I thought they could be, or anything changes about the narrative because of one regular season loss where they couldn't buy a bucket and the other team was knocking them down at will. But I can also acknowledge that it's upsetting to see your rival out-hustle you and beat you to every single play basically all night long. Why is that the case? We can live and die with a loss here if it just ends up being where the other team and you both play good games, but someone has to lose and you end up falling. It would be gut punching and it would hurt, and it would be a little bit probably more painful in the heart because you were that much closer to it compared to the alternative, which is this and an ass whooping, and you're bent over and they got the wooden spoon and your ass is just red, right? I mean, yeah, it definitely stings. No pun intended there with that sequence I just laid out. Not that I ever got a spanking when I was younger because I was just the greatest child ever in the history of planet Earth, obviously. No, I never had soap in my mouth because I used to curse a lot when I was a young lad. No, of course I would never have that. But the point that's disappointing is just the effort level and watching Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown specifically. Damn, he had some of those shots where, well, what the hell do you want me to do? What do you want them to do out there? Getting crucified, getting beat up heavily. Oh, come on. No. All right, we got another text message here. Bros, this is Spence in Abington. Hello, Spence in Abington. Couldn't be happier James is on the way because this game was absolutely, and then in all capitals, embarrassing. But it's on to the next game. I kind of like that I've heard that tone so far tonight because you never really know what you're going to get. You don't. It could be the screw this team, oh, fuck them, right? I mean, sometimes it does get to that level, and then other times it's more like this. And I guess everyone's sort of in the understanding of you made the move, so you don't have Seth, you don't have Andre, and you don't have James Harden. That's a big loss to your team, but that doesn't change what they could have done tonight. It could have been smoother than this. I mean, their offensive ability, I get it, they're limited, but it looked like a child's team out there. It looked really terrible where there was no rhythm. Once the ball got moved from Joel Embiid's hands, these guys were passing around like it was a hot potato. And then when they shot it and actually let it fly, there was no confidence. Danny Green's following up his shot before he already let it go because he knew it was a brick. George Niang is missing a shot. Furkan's missing shots. Milton's missing his shots. Matisse, Thybulle, brick. Can't shoot the ball from three. Don't act like that's not problematic. It is extremely problematic, and it is a major issue with this basketball team. Please do not be fooled by just his great defense that he has, because there's a lot more to this game than that. And you can see the Celtics go, I'll live with this all day. And there's going to be a lot of teams that say, I'll live with this all day. I can't keep forgetting, though, and I'm not forgetting, but it is not a factor at the moment, specifically tonight, is there's an individual who wears number 1 in a Sixers uniform who just wasn't on the floor tonight, and that will dictate the way teams elect to defend as a whole. Can you still throw 3 guys at Embiid? I mean, this guy gets the ball in the low post, and I saw 3 guys swarm to him like I've never seen before. That was aggressive and smart game plan, no doubt. I mean, I guess I would do the same damn thing when you look at who's spaced out around him out by the 3-point line, and it clearly worked and benefited them to the point where this is, it's funny, right? Everyone, whenever they play these teams that stink, everyone's always in the text message board and in the chat room, and they always mention how they want some good old-fashioned rest, and they want to do the load management the old-fashioned way. Well, guess what? I think you got a little bit of some old-fashioned rest. Looking at some of the minutes. Danny Green, 19. That's about what he plays at this point. Embiid, 20. Is that 26? Let me make the screen a little bit bigger. I got old people eyes. Yeah, Joel played 26. Tobias played 28. Thybulle, 23. Maxey got in the 30 once. He shot 3 of 11. He was minus 34. Tobias was minus 40, although a lot of the team at this point obviously was minus and not looking good at all. Hey, bros. How are you, mate? Longtime listener to your post-game shows on YouTube and absolutely love your passion. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, so don't hold that against me. Really happy for the trade to finally get done, and I'm pissed the way Ben handled it today. I am thankful, though, that Ben did start off as 76ers because that was my introduction to following this great team, and now I'm passionate as hell. Can't wait to see Harden and Joel together. Who the hell would be able to stop us? No one. Keep up the good work, mate. Love the show. This is from Travis. Well, thank you so much, Travis. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm sick and tired of that guy. I really am. But I don't like the reaction that we're not allowed to discuss him anymore because he's no longer in this city. Out of sight, out of mind. And I'm sorry, when you hold this team hostage and make all these brutal comments and then mock mental health so you can continue to get paid, that's not something that sits with me. And then the first time he speaks, to act as if I can't have any sort of reaction to that is honestly preposterous. And it would be foolish to not share opinions and thoughts. So just to be clear for everyone out there who thought it was over the top that Philadelphia paid attention today, read the room. I mean, read the room. Think about what we just went through. And I'm blown away by how many people actually had that reaction. It was a ton. It was an aggressive amount. Forget about him. Oh, this media is just a bunch of crap that still spends time thinking about. Move on. You got James. Move on. He hasn't spoken months. He hasn't looked at anyone in the face since he quit on the team. And by the way, for everyone who said, well, how is James Harden any different? One, I don't like the power that NBA players have where they can basically monitor where they want to go and push themselves out. I get it. Now, a lot of the people who do it with 1 year left on their deal because they threaten that I'm going to walk away anyway, so you better trade me so you can get compensation in return because guess what? I'm gone after this. So you do have leverage based off of your contract. That makes sense. That's different from what Ben Simmons did, who signed a deal and committed here and then elected to go down that path. But if you don't see the difference, and I don't like the fact that he did it, even though he's here, I don't like that James Harden said, screw it, I'm out of here and handled things the way he did. I don't. But to even compare Ben Simmons using mental health as a way to get paid after he tried to blame a back injury and tried to demand a trade and thought he wouldn't get fined. Once he went through 9 options and realized that none of this is going to work, so through our contract, let's use mental health, and I won't document anything. I won't get any sort of doctor to sign off on anything. I won't go through the proper protocols that I'm supposed to, and I'll say, screw you, and flip the Sixers to double bird and still expect to get paid. That's totally different to mock mental health and then play this hamstring game. Once again, I don't like the power as a whole in general. I don't like it. But if you're going to weigh how these are handled by both people and put them in the same exact category, well, then you're absolutely flawed with your approach too. I'm sorry, I can't respect that opinion because it's completely different. All right, we will go back to the Anytime Hotline. Nope. Okay. Never mind. Maybe that's a butt dial. Maybe it's something that didn't mean to happen. I'm not sure. That was interesting, though. We got a text message from Joseph in Delaware. The problem is clearly lack of talent on the roster. Embiid and Maxey are the only offensive threat in the team. The rest are just below average role players. Cork Moss and Lionel Richie shouldn't be in the NBA anymore. I will say this as I'm not I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm thinking of Tobias Harris because he wasn't mentioned. Tobias isn't a do-it-your-own type of thing. Tobias isn't, I'm just going to go will you to victory. No, he needs proper team play, and I get it. It's not what you have value-wise with the contract, but that's his role. I don't put him in the same category as the Cork Mosses, the Shake Miltons, the Matisse Thybulles, even though the hatred in this city would probably do so. I don't. But yeah, I mean, we knew that prior, right? You got Embiid, you got Maxey, you got Tobias. These 3 guys are actually players. And then you got Matisse, who's just good at defense. You got Cork Moss, who stinks and is running point at some points out there. Even with Shake Milton, he's dribbling the ball up the floor, and I'm vomiting in my mouth because it's just totally disturbing. Well, yeah, I mean, we knew that, but they were winning games and playing harder than what they showed tonight and displayed tonight, even with those same deficiencies throughout the entire first half of the season. So even with those limitations being real, and yes, I mean, with no Seth and no Andre too, because you made the trade, that obviously hurts you, right? Because now Seth starts and there's a different role for Danny and Matisse, and no doubt about it, it's not exactly the same team because what you did lose definitely is different. So that's fair for sure. It kind of is what it is on tonight. Danny Green is Lionel Richie. I got you. I don't think I caught that at the time. Now that you texted back in, though, and I see that. Okay, makes a little bit more sense. I got you. More text messages rolling through. You can call in, too, by the way. The phone line is open at 856-442-9805 if you do feel the want to call in. Let's see here. We got another text. This game was pitiful. Terrible effort. But I will say, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about Harden wants out already. Come on, he's an NBA player. He's not Ben Simmons. Right? What? People who are saying he wants out, he hasn't even played a basketball game yet. And yeah, it's because the whole contract thing. Apparently, Zach Lowe reported this. And I don't trust the source who tweeted out, according to Zach Lowe. So this is the only person I saw on Twitter. But James Harden is waiting contractually so that maybe they could trade Tobias Harris, open up a slot, get that money off the books in the offseason, and then apply money to James Harden accordingly to maneuver some things. I don't know. Like I said, I don't trust the original source who tweeted it, but they referenced Zach Lowe, so I have to do more research. I saw it for about 5 to 6 seconds before we went live, so I'll look a little bit more into it all. But in terms of he doesn't want to be here. No, he wants to be with Daryl Morey. Trust me. They've been trying to connect together for quite some time. The relationship between Daryl Morey and James Harden is extremely strong. And I know we feel a certain type of way, but just like I tried to explain to everyone about Ben Simmons and how we feel a certain type of way, but the NBA world sees it differently. And we acquired a James Harden with the package starting with Ben Simmons, which tells you everything that I've been explaining for quite some time. It took a upset star as well in James Harden to push that forward, but it did happen. And Ben Simmons started that package. When you think about James Harden, I lost my train of thought. Sometimes this happens. Ben Simmons, James Harden. Wow, I've really just totally blanked. What was I saying before? Wow, that was bad. This is real bad. Hopefully this comes back to me. Is James Harden going to leave? No, James Harden's not going to leave. That's where this started. I got nothing for you. This is the beauty of live stream. I totally just whiffed on where I was. I don't think James Harden's leaving, though. He ain't going anywhere. Oh, yes, Doc Rivers. I know exactly what I was going to say. We might feel a certain way about Doc Rivers, but the NBA world looks differently at Doc Rivers, and there have been plenty of people communicating that James Harden wants to play for Doc Rivers, has wanted to play for Doc Rivers. That has always been in the mix. So not only Daryl Morey in that relationship, but Doc Rivers in that relationship as well. That's strong, and that's real too. James Harden's not going anywhere. Okay, anyone saying that is just foolish. With that, we'll go to the phones. Amadeo, what's up, bro?
Yo, man, how's it going?
Well, it was an ugly day for the Flyers and the Sixers.
Oh, yeah, I know. I can hear it from your reaction entirely. This entire loss has basically made you lose your entire thought process.
Yeah, I totally had no idea where my brain was going there for a good 10 seconds, and sometimes that happens. The thing is, in previous shows, I'd have the opportunity to hit pause and regain my thoughts for a little bit and say, where the hell was I going with that? Now, you know what? This is it, baby. You're just getting it natural.
Exactly. And this is one of the days where you just, like, you have the both TV set up on. You're like, oh, I can go watch both games at once. But then you're just like, wow, you look at one TV, the one game is shit. But then you look at the other TV, the other game is shit. It's just like, it's a lost situation at this point.
It is. And it was a tough game for the Sixers tonight, just obviously focusing more on the Sixers. But I just kind of chalk it up to a night where they couldn't make their shots. There were some good open looks. They didn't fall. On another night, they do fall, and maybe it's a different feel. But ultimately, they got outworked, and I don't know what this means long-term, anything. It doesn't mean much long-term. It's more just a hiccup. It just stings that the hiccup happens against a team that we despise. If it happens against the Charlotte Hornets, we probably feel completely different, and we put it in the shredder a little bit easier.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This is like one of the many duds you're going to have throughout an entire season. Sadly, this dud was like very, very, very bad, but this is just one of those games. You got to throw it in the trash. and then you focus on Milwaukee on Thursday, and then the inevitable wait for James Harden to actually come into the rotation.
Absolutely, and thanks, Amadeo. I can't wait until James Harden is fully on that floor and that place is going crazy, losing its mind. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. I got to think about getting down to the center for sure. Let's take a look at, I think their next home game after the break is against the New York Knicks. Their first game back, if I see this correctly in my handy-dandy little agenda here. That's right, I do have my schedule written down with the games as well. Sixers against Minnesota on Friday the 25th. And then what is it, that following Tuesday? No, following Wednesday. They play the Knicks at home at 7:30. And then they play Cleveland on Friday at home as well. Unless this is wrong, but I don't think it's wrong. Am I ever wrong? We got $2 donation coming in. Who should we get in the buyout market? We need a backup big man. I think the backup big man is the way to go about things. I think maybe it's a Lopez or something along those lines. I don't personally want Ennis Freedom. That's not something that tickles my fancy. Oh, wait, I'm way off. There's a Sunday game, February 27th. Did I miss that? It's Minnesota, Sixers, Knicks on Sunday, and then that follows a Wednesday. So there is but that's in Madison Square Garden. So that's not the same thing at all. Who am I targeting, though, getting back on track? It's probably a big man that can back up Joel Embiid for about 10 minutes in playoff basketball. That's the way that I'm probably targeting this. You know, I know Dragic is a name that everybody's excited about, but I think with James Harden and Tyrese Maxey, you have your ball handlers that you're looking for. And with them playing a maximum amount in the postseason, minutes-wise, I don't see how you have many more minutes for ball handlers. So that's why I see what I see right now, and that's the opportunity to grab a big man to help out the Joel Embiid-less minutes, because that will be problematic. As we've witnessed 10 billion times before, when he's not on the floor, you're a big-time minus. When he is on the floor, you're a big-time plus in the postseason. He's going to play about 38, 39 minutes or so of the 48, so who can hold the fort down? I'll take a shot at a Lopez or something along those lines for sure. All right, a couple text messages coming in from Jonathan. Well, what on earth was that? Fans wanted to keep Thybulle over Seth for a reason again, but all you can do is shake it off and try and avenge this in Milwaukee. Well, I mean, I'm not going to overreact to one game and now say Matisse Thybulle is never going to have any good minutes and never be an important piece. I mean, he is something that is valuable and brings some really good defense to the table. 0 for 6 from 3, though, is an issue. And, yeah, he should never be labeled an untouchable. That's just ridiculous. And you got to keep in mind, too, because I heard, well, Seth Curry scored 23 points. Did you see Seth Curry dominate the other night? Well, they played the Kings, to be fair. They lost X amount of games in a row. At some point, that was going to snap. And, oh, by the way, when Kevin Durant returns and when Kyrie Irving's actually available to play, we just never know what city and what state that's necessarily going to be. But there's not going to be all those shots allowed to be taken by Seth, because that's going to be passed around and distributed by everybody else on this team, right? The KDs, the Kyrie. Seth isn't getting those shots. I like Seth. Seth's going to have 23, but then he'll also have a night where he gives you 7 and he shoots 2 of something and he gets a couple free throws. We've seen that before too. We can't just overreact to one game that Seth has positively and then forget about the ugly moments that he has. It's the same thing. Matisse, bad game tonight, but I mean, in terms of NBA pro, I like Seth Curry more than I like Matisse Thybulle from the professionalism of what I think can be more beneficial, even though his defense gets waxed. Like I stated, and you need good D. And the Celtics have a good defense. They really do. You need good defense. Statistics will tell you that you need a great offense and a really strong defense, too. It's not like you can just be absolutely atrocious on the defensive side and go win a championship. You need to be able to do a good job on both sides. But I will take someone who can score a bucket more than I would take someone who could defend a bucket. Because as I watched Jaylen Brown today and watch some of these other players, that's where the moneymaker is. That's where the big shots are made. Some of these texts are a little bit repetitive. Should we get Dragic maybe for the bench in the buyout market? I think you target the big man. I think that's sort of the direction that you go to if you are a 76er right now. I got a friend of mine ripping me apart in the text messages because of the Celtics tonight. That's disappointing. Things you don't love to see. Things that sting. Things that are no fun. That sucks. I don't even know what to say. I have no response to that because it's been so miserable. But with that being said, I think we're going to shut things down here. I can't thank everybody enough for hanging out with me. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all of your support. If you're looking to buy tickets to go to any of these games, SeatGeek promo code BROADS gets you $20 off. It's a no-brainer. TikTok at Broads Media. So that's where we're ended today. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, Coffee with Broads, 9 a.m. We'll kick it then as well. Thank you guys so much. Devastating loss. Not very fun. Not very entertaining. But I'll catch you guys later on.